Hello, my kiddos. Last time we found out that the glass ball that um, Grima Wormtongue threw down from Orthanc is called a Palantir. And Pippin looked in it and he saw Sauron, and Sauron spoke to him. And that's where we pick it up. At that moment, a shadow fell over them. The bright moonlight seemed to be suddenly cut off. Several of the riders cried out and crouched, holding their arms above their heads as if to ward off a blow from above. A blind fear and a deadly cold fell on them. Cowering, they looked up. A vast winged shape passed over the moon like a black cloud. It wheeled and went north, flying at a speed greater than any wind of Middle Earth. The stars fainted before it. It was gone. They stood up, rigid as stones. Gandalf was gazing up, his arms out and downwards, stiff, his hands clenched. Nazgul, he cried, the messenger of Mordor. The storm is coming. The Nazgul have crossed the river. Ride, ride, wait not for the dawn. Let not the swift wait for the slow. Ride! He sprang away, calling Shadowfax as he ran. Aragorn followed him, going to Pippin. Gandalf picked him up in his arms. You shall come with me this time, he said. Shadowfax shall show you his paces. Then he ran to the place where he had slept. Shadowfax stood there already, slinging the small bag, which was all his luggage, across his shoulders. The wizard leapt upon the horse's back. Aragorn lifted Pippin and set him in Gandalf's arms, wrapped in a cloak and blanket. Farewell, follow fast, cried Gandalf. Away, Shadowfax! The great horse tossed his head. His flowing tail flicked in the moonlight. Then he leaped forward, spurning the earth, and was gone like the north wind from the mountains. A beautiful, restful night, said Merry to Aragorn. Some folk have wonderful luck. He did not want to sleep, and he wanted to ride with Gandalf, and there he goes, instead of being turned into stone himself to stand here forever as a warning. If you had been the first to lift the Orthanc stone and not he, how would it be now? Said Aragorn. You might have done worse. Who can say? But now it is your luck to come with me, I fear, at once. Go and get ready, and bring anything that Pippin left behind. Make haste. Over the plains, Shadowfax was flying, needing no urging and no guidance. Less than an hour had passed, and they had reached the fords of Isen and crossed them. The mound of the riders and its cold spears lay gray behind them. Pippin was recovering. He was warm, but the wind in his face was keen and refreshing. He was with Gandalf. The horror of the stone and the hideous shadow over the moon was fading. Things left behind in the mists of the mountains were in a passing dream. He drew a deep breath. I did not know you rode bareback, Gandalf, he said. You haven't a saddle or a bridle. I do not ride elf fashion except on Shadowfax, said Gandalf. But Shadowfax will have no harness. You do not ride Shadowfax. He is willing to carry you, or not. If he is willing, that is enough. It is then his business to see that you remain on his back, unless you jump off into the air. How fast is he going? Asked Pippin. Fast by the wind, but very smooth, and how light his footfalls are. He is running now as fast as the swiftest horse could gallop, answered Gandalf. But that is not fast for him. The land is rising a little here, and is more broken than it was beyond the river. But see how the white mountains are drawing near under the stars. Yonder are the Thrihirn peaks, like black spears. It will not be long before we reach the branching roads and come to the Deeping Combe, where the battle was fought 2 nights ago. Pippin was silent again for a while. He heard Gandalf singing softly to himself, murmuring brief snatches of rhyme in many tongues, as the miles ran under them. At last the wizard passed into a song of which the hobbit caught the words. A few lines came clear to his ears, through the rushing of the wind. Tall ships and tall kings, 3 times 3, what brought they from the foundered land over the flowing sea? 7 stars and 7 stones and 1 white tree. What are you saying, Gandalf? Asked Pippin. I was just running over some of the rhymes of lore in my mind, answered the wizard. Hobbits, I suppose, have forgotten them, even those that they ever knew. No, not at all, said Pippin, and we have many of our own, which wouldn't interest you, perhaps. But I have never heard this one. What is it about? The 7 stars and 7 stones? About the Palantiri of the kings of old, said Gandalf. And what are they? The name meant that which looks far away. The Orthanc stone was one. Then it was not made? Pippin hesitated. By the enemy? No, said Gandalf, nor by Saruman. It is beyond his art, and beyond Sauron's too. The Palantiri came from beyond Westerness, from Eldamar. The Noldor made them. Fëanor himself, maybe, wrought them in days so long ago that the time cannot be measured in years. But there is nothing that Sauron cannot turn to evil uses. Alas for Saruman, it was his downfall, as now I perceive. Perilous to us, all are the devices of an art deeper than we possess ourselves. Yet he must bear the blame, fool, to keep it secret for his own profit, nor did he ever speak of it to any of the council. We have not yet given thought to the fate of the Palantiri of Gondor in its ruinous wars. But by men they were almost forgotten. Even in Gondor they were a secret known only to a few. In Arnor they were remembered only in a rhyme of lore among the Dunedain. What did the men of old use them for? Asked Pippin, delighted and astonished at getting answers to so many questions, and wondering how long it would last. To see far off, and to converse in thought with one another, said Gandalf. In that way they long guarded and united the realm of Gondor. They set up stones at Minas Anor, and at Minas Ithil, and at Orthanc in the rising of Isengard. The chief and master of these was under the dome of the stars at Osgiliath, before its ruin. The 3 others were far away in the north. In the house of Elrond it is told that they were at Annúminas and Amansul, and Elendil stone was on the tower hills that look towards Mithlond and the Gulf of Lune where the grey ships lie. Each Palantir replied to each, but all those in Gondor were ever open to the view of Osgiliath. Now it appears that, as the rock of Orthanc has withstood the storms of time, so there the Palantir of that tower has remained. But alone it could do nothing but see small images of things far off in days remote. Very useful, no doubt, that was to Saruman. Yet it seems that he was not content. Further and further abroad he gazed, until he cast his gaze upon Barad-dûr. Then he was caught. Who knows where the lost stones of Arnor and Gondor now lie buried, or drowned deep? But one at least Sauron must have obtained and mastered to his purposes. I guess that it was the Ithil stone, for he took Minas Ithil long ago and turned it into an evil place. Minas Morgul it has become. Easy it is now to guess how quickly the roving eye of Saruman was trapped and held, and how ever since he has been persuaded from afar, and daunted when persuasion would not serve. The bitter bit, the hawk under the eagle's foot, the spider in a steel web. How long, I wonder, has he been constrained to come often to his glass for inspection and instruction? And the Orthanc stone so bent towards Barad-dûr that, if any save a will of adamant now looks into it, it will bear his mind and sight swiftly thither. And how it draws one to itself! Have I not felt it? Even now my heart desires to test my will upon it, to see if I could not wrench it from him and turn it where I would. to look across the wide seas of water and of time to Tirion the fair, and perceive the unimaginable hand and mind of Fëanor and their work, while both the white tree and the golden flower, while both the white tree and the golden were in flower. He sighed and fell silent. I wish I had known all this before, said Pippin. I had no notion of what I was doing. Oh, yes, you had, said Gandalf. You knew you were behaving wrongly and foolishly, and you told yourself so, though you did not listen. I did not tell you all this before, because it is only by musing on all that has happened that I have at last understood, even as we ride together. But if I had spoken sooner, it would not have lessened your desire, or made it easier to resist. On the contrary. No, the burned hand teaches best. After that advice about fire goes to the heart. It does, said Pippin. If all the 7 stones were laid out before me now, I should shut my eyes and put my hands in my pockets. Good, said Gandalf. That is what I had hoped. But I should like to know, Pippin began. Mercy, cried Gandalf. If the giving of information is to be the cure of your inquisitiveness, I shall spend all the rest of my days in answering you. What more do you want to know? The names of all the stars and of all the living things and the whole history of Middle-earth and over heaven and of the sundering seas, laughed Pippin. Of course, what less? But I am not in a hurry tonight. At the moment, I was just wondering about the Black Shadow. I heard you shout, Messenger of Mordor. What was it? What could it do at Isengard? It was a black rider on wings, a Nazgul, said Gandalf. It could have taken you away to the Dark Tower. But it was not coming for me, was it? Faltered Pippin. I mean, I didn't know that I had... Of course not, said Gandalf. It is 200 leagues or more in straight flight from Barad-dûr to Orthanc, and even a Nazgul would take a few hours to fly between them. But Saruman certainly looked in the stone since the Orc raid, and more of his secret thought, I do not doubt, has been read than he intended. A messenger has been sent to find out what he is doing, and after what has happened tonight another will come, I think, and swiftly. So Saruman will come to the last pinch of the vice that he has put his hand in. He has no captive to send. He has no stone to see with, and cannot answer the summons. Sauron will only believe that he is withholding the captive and refusing to use the stone. It will not help Saruman to tell the truth to the messenger, for Isengard may be ruined, yet he is still safe in Orthanc. So, whether he will or no, he will appear a rebel. Yet he rejected us, so as to avoid that very thing. What he will do in such a plight I cannot guess. He has power still, I think, while in Orthanc, to resist the 9 riders. He may try to do so. He may try to trap the Nazgul, or at least to slay the thing on which it now rides the air. In that case, let Rohan look to its horses. But I cannot tell how it will fall out, well or ill for us. It may be that the counsels of the enemy will be confused or hindered by his wrath with Saruman. It may be that he will learn that I was there and stood upon the stairs of Orthanc, with hobbits at my tail, or that an heir of Elendil lives and stood beside me. If Wormtongue was not deceived by the armor of Rohan, he would remember Aragorn and the title that he claimed. That is what I fear, and so we fly, not from danger, but into greater danger. Every stride of Shadowfax bears you nearer to the land of shadow, Peregrine Took. Pippin made no answer, but clutched his cloak, as if a sudden chill had struck him. Grey land passed under them. See now, said Gandalf, the Westfold dales are opening before us. Here we come back to the eastward road. The dark shadow yonder is the mouth of the Deeping Combe. That way lies Algorond and the glittering caves. Do not ask me about them. Ask Gimli if you meet again, and for the first time you may get an answer longer than you wish. You will not see the caves yourself, not on this journey. Soon they will be far behind. I thought you were going to stop at Helm's Deep, said Pippin. Where are you going, then? To Minas Tirith, before the seas of war surround it. Oh, and how far is that? Leagues upon leagues, answered Gandalf, thrice as far as the dwelling of King Theoden, and they are more than 100 miles east from here, as the messenger of Mordor fly. Shadowfax must run a longer road. Which will prove the swifter? We shall ride now till daybreak, and that is some hours away. Then even Shadowfax must rest, in some hollow of the hills, at Edoras, I hope. Sleep if you can. You may see the first glimmer of dawn upon the golden roof of the House of Errol, and in 2 days thence you shall see the purple shadow of Mount Mindolluin, and the walls of the Tower of Denethor white in the morning. Away now, Shadowfax! Run, run, Greatheart, run as you have never run before. Now we are come to the lands where you were foaled, and every stone you know. Run now! Hope is in speed. Shadowfax tossed his head and cried aloud as if a trumpet had summoned him to battle. Then he sprang forward, fire flew from his feet, night rushed over him, and as he fell slowly into sleep, Pippin had a strange feeling. He and Gandalf were still as stone, seated upon a statue of a running horse, while the world rolled away beneath his feet with a great noise of wind. End of that chapter. And now we're at book 4. And since that's a convenient stopping point, we're going to stop there. I love you always and forever, no matter what.